Hello, everybody. Hello, back again on stage 4. I'm looking forward for the next hour, a more techie hour about 2 solutions of more freedom for our web. So listen now to Frank Karlitschek from Stuttgart. He's the founder of ownCloud, and he developed a tool, decentralized and personal, store your data. So he does not believe in Dropbox and Google Drive and iCloud, but has another solution. So, looking forward. Frank.
Thanks a lot. Great. Thanks to everybody for being here, especially because it's during lunch hours. So I hope that I can entertain you a little bit so that you don't get hungry. Yeah, my name is Frank Karlitschek. I'm the founder of the ownCloud project. I'm also a long-time open source contributor in different projects like KDE. And I'm also running the Open Desktop org network of websites, kdlook.org, gnomelook.org, for example. I want to talk about 4 things, basically. First is to talk about the current problems with cloud computing, with the internet at the moment. Then I will present the user data manifesto. It's a solution, or it's an idea to define 8 basic rights that everybody should have regarding the privacy and the personal data. Then I will present ownCloud and show you what it is and why we think that it's a solution. And hopefully, at the end, we have some time for discussions. That's, for me, always the most interesting piece. OK, let's talk about a problem, because I think before we talk about a software or a solution or a project, first we have to define what we really want to solve. So what is the problem that we have? First, I have to say I'm not a paranoid guy, right? I'm not one of these tinfoil hat guys with, again, all modern technology is evil. Facebook is evil, social networking is evil. They're all spying us all the time. I mean, I like new technology. I like the internet. I like all the new stuff. I mean, I even have a Facebook account. So I'm not that, I mean, I'm really not paranoid, I think. But I really think, on the other hand, we just have to look at the facts, how the internet looks like today, and where we will be in a few years. Let's just project what's currently going on into the future, but let's say in 5 years, in 10 years, and how the world will look like then. And if we really think that this is something that we want to have, or if we want to have something different. In general, I think that in the future, all our data will be somehow stored on a computer, on a server that's connected to the internet. So you can call it a cloud server. Cloud is, of course, just a stupid buzzword, but I think our data will be on a computer that's somewhere on the internet. The reason is that we want to sync and access all our files from all our devices, from phones, from tablets, from our car in the future, from the internet in your coffee machine, perhaps in the future, right, or in your fridge. So the data has to be in a central place somehow. And another thing that we want to have is you want to share our data with others. So it doesn't make sense to have all my stuff locally on my own machine anymore. It has to be on the internet somewhere. So this is just a trend. The challenge is, of course, who has access to this data then? What are the implications on privacy here and data protection? OK, but I mean, we all love free software, right? We are all open source guys. We love free software. We use Android phones. Some of us use Linux desktops. We use Linux on the server. We use Apache. We use free software, right? So all this spying on our data, it's not really a problem because we use open and free technology, right? That's wrong, because open source doesn't protect us at all from someone accessing our personal and private data. OK, the thing is that the reality is just that government and organizations, they can access our data. So that just a license of the software is not a solution. So even if it's hosted in a central place somewhere, and it could be HGPL or GPL, another open source license, still organizations have access to our data. That's just a fact. And it's not only about reading our data. I mean, you can say, hey, why is someone interested in my vacation pictures? This is not important. But it gets interesting if you combine the information together. So where was I on vacation, and who else was there? To what person have I talked to, and so on. So really analyzing and clustering the data together. Okay, but as we all know, the governments, they only do this to protect us from evil terrorists, right? We have this huge terrorist problem nowadays, right? And the government has to protect us. So they're accessing the data of all their citizens just to protect us from terrorists, right? Of course, that makes sense. Well, if you look at the reality, if you look at what is really happening nowadays, you can see that data is not accessed once or two times. It's accessed 1 million times a year, so basically every day. So there is data from Sprint. Sprint is one of the biggest mobile carriers in the US. They had several million requests from law enforcement organizations to access data of their customers. And if you look at how many customers they actually have, you can see that basically everybody with a phone is basically already accessed or spied or tracked by the government already. Like everybody, not terrorists, everybody. Okay, but then you can say, well, this is only the US, right? This is just crazy people. We are in Europe, we have better laws, no problem at all, right? Well, if you look at what's going on in Germany, for example, there was a few years ago this incident where the police accessed all the mobile data for the phones in Berlin. You probably know this. 42 million phones were tracked by the police. And if you check how many people actually live in Berlin, you can see that's basically everybody, right? Which means that we all are already tracked. So it's not about terrorists. We are all affected, right? Okay, but you can say that this is only today, right? We have this terrorist problem, and this is just, we have to solve this somehow next few years, and then everything will be going back to normal, right? Normal means that our data is secure, and the government respects our rights on the data, and so on. Well, if you look at what's going on, what laws are actually rolled out at the moment, all this data retention law in Germany, ACTA, SOPA, and so on. Actually, this morning, there was another story that the US government now wants to pass a law that they're able to access all chat logs from all people, all the time. Right? So this is definitely nothing that is going away, actually the opposite. Okay, then you can say, well, I don't really care about privacy, right? I am not a criminal, right? I have nothing to hide, no problem at all, right? Everybody can see my Twitter messages or what I had for lunch and so on. That's not important, right? But you have to realize that it's a little bit more than just my Twitter messages or what my telephone number is and so on. It's really tracking and accessing everything that I do, which means my location all the time, which means my payments that I make, which means the conversations I have, right? We all heard of Google Glass. Google Glass is the new device from Google. There's no button anymore, right? You can put the glasses on your head and just use voice commands to access it, which means this device is actually already listening to all the conversations that you have, right? So it's basically listening to everything that you say, not only what you say, also what your friends say in a conversation, right? And there are already phones out there, mobile phones, that can detect if you look at a screen or not, which means they're filming you all the time. Right? This is really interesting. So it's not only about what is my secret address, what is my secret telephone number. That's your whole life. Right? So how does the future look like how does it look like in the future? Well, people stress this all the time, right? 1984, George Orwell, and I think it's a big thing to claim that this is our future, but if you really look what he said, like in 1948, where he had this vision that basically in every room is a camera, there's people filming you all the time. We have this now already, right? It's not a fantasy. So I really think that we have to do something. We have to do something if you want to basically protect the rights that we have in our non-digital life. We want to have the same rights in our digital life. Okay, so a lot of people say, especially in the tech scene or at the CCC or in the open source community, say, well, of course, we all know that Twitter and Facebook and Google is evil. I don't use it, right? I use my old school computers. I use shell access only and my secure whatever in my environment, and I'm safe. And that's true. The sad truth is that this only helps them. This doesn't help the general user base, the general world. So if you really want to make the world better, we need a solution that works for everybody, not just for geeks. So just saying Facebook is evil and we're done, this doesn't work. So I'm really wondering what is going on here at the moment in the world. I think that people give up their right about their digital data without noticing it, right? I mean, if you imagine that the police comes into your house every day and reads your personal letters and your documents, you would say, hey, this is crazy, what you're doing here, go away, right? But it's actually happening in a digital life, and no one complains. It's very interesting. So I think what we need is we need a written down definition of basic rights that everybody has regarding the personal data. And this is something that I launched last year with a few other guys together. It's called a User Data Manifesto. It's a written down definition of 8 user rights where we think that this is something that everybody has. The first right is own your data, which means if I create something, if I take a picture, if I write a blog post, if I write a Twitter message, something like that, it's mine, right? I control it. I decide who has access to it. It's mine, right? Only because I store it on Dropbox or on a Google server doesn't mean that I want to give up control over my data, right? So it's my data, right? I control it. Perhaps I want to share it. I publish it on the internet, sure, perhaps, but this is my decision. This is not a decision of the service provider or of the government or someone else. The next thing is I want to know where my data is stored. So on what server actually my data is stored. This is important because it actually has legal implications. I mean, there are different laws in the world, right? And if you store something on a server in another country, you would have no idea what is going on, who has access to it, what are the laws. You can't even vote in the other country to change the laws. It's just the other country, right? It's not in your country anymore, so it's basically you lost control over that. And I want to know it. The second is, if I don't like it, the location, I want to migrate my data to a different location. So if I don't like a provider or software or a country or something, I want to press a button and export everything and then go to a different service and import it again. I mean, you can switch a bank for your money, you can switch your car vendor and so on, but you can't switch away from Google or Facebook or Dropbox. It's just not possible. Control access. I want to decide who has access to my data. If I want to share my vacation pictures with someone, that's fine, but I want to decide it. It's not a service provider who wants to decide. Facebook can't decide if my pictures are used for advertisement or something. That's my decision. Then I want to, if I decide to choose it, I want to decide the conditions of it. So if I decide that this blog post should be now on the internet, this doesn't mean that everybody can use it for everything, right? I decide the rules, basically the license of the stuff that I publish. Next thing is invulnerability of data. So the data should be protected, of course. I want to make sure that it's backed and so on. You don't know how the backup works with Google or Dropbox. You just think it should be okay, perhaps, but you don't know. You have no idea. Use it optimally. I mean, this point is in there because you could say, well, the best security is to put all my data on a DVD and put it into the safe. Sure, but then you can't access it anymore. So I still want to access all my data from all my devices in an optimal way. This is also right. And the last thing is software server transparency. We think that the server software and also the client software should be implemented with free software because you then can look into the code and see if there's a backdoor in it, what is actually going on, if the encryption is strong enough, and so on. So this is the data manifesto. There's the website userdatamanifesto.org. If you're interested, go there. Tell your friends. we think that these are important principles that you need nowadays about the rights on your data. Okay, now let's talk about ownCloud. ownCloud is a software where we think can help us with enforcing the rights that I just mentioned. It's an open source project developed by a community. It's licensed under the AGPL license. I founded it 3.5 years ago. It's growing very, very fast. We have over 150 contributors already working on the code constantly. We have about 70 commits a day, so it's very, very active. We have about 500,000 installations worldwide. It's difficult to say because it's free software. There's no tracking in it, obviously. But if you look at the download numbers and the number of user feedback we get and how it's bundled on Linux distribution and so on, we think that it's really about 500,000 installations out there. And we also have a company that offers commercial support. So if you want to have commercially supported installation, want to have someone coming to you and integrating it with your existing systems, whatever, can be offered, or this will be offered by the company. Okay, what is ownCloud in detail? First, it's basically a Dropbox and Google Drive replacement. So ownCloud can do everything that Dropbox does and everything that Google Drive does, and very comparable with Skydrive and iCloud. There are details, but in general, it's the same thing. We have a web interface, HTML5 web interface. You can manage all your data there. Can be mounted with WebDAV directly as a drive from your computer if you want. The server works on Mac, Windows, and Linux. We have desktop syncing clients, Android clients, iOS clients, and so on, and support open APIs. The web interface looks like that. It's a very clean web interface, I think, with the navigation here, your file manager there, login, search here, and that's basically all. Very, very easy to use. Like I said, we have desktop clients. This is such a screenshot from the Mac OS X client. It works in a very similar way to the Dropbox client. But as I said, it also works on Linux and Windows. Just screenshots from the iOS applications that we have. Here are your files. You can click on a file and then watch the video or stream the music and do whatever you want with it. Then we have integration with all kinds of backend systems, so with an LDAP integration with Samba shares, SAML, OpenID, and so on. Versioning is supported, so every time you change a file, a new version is created, which means you can always roll back to older versions. There's encryption built in, so we use SSL for the encrypted file transfer. And we also have a server-side encryption, which will be replaced by a way better one in the next few weeks. And we are working on client-side encryption too. You can share your files and just click on a file or folder and say, hey, I want to share these vacation pictures with my grandma, whatever. Then a mail is sent out. You can click on the mail and you can watch your stuff. But it's more than just files. I mean, sharing and syncing files is the basic functionality, but it's way more. We have a calendar, contacts, bookmarks, music streaming, photo gallery, and so on, lots of things. At the moment, a few community guys are working on an RSS reader replacement. It's very popular nowadays, somehow, I don't know why. It's a really nice application. You can just, with one click, install into your own cloud, synchronize all your files, and there's also work going on with an mobile application to access it from your phones and tablets. Okay, then you might wonder, okay, great features. I heard this before. I heard this before from Dropbox or Google. Why is this special now here, right? Why is this special? It's just a cloud storage. Well, there's one difference. This all runs on your own machine, right? We as ownCloud, we don't have any servers. You can't go to the website and create an account or something. We don't have that. The only thing that you can do on our website is download the software. And take the software, put it on one of your machines, and then you have your own personal private Dropbox. With privacy, without backdoors, without the police being able to spy into it. It's safe, it's secure, it's easy, it's super affordable because you don't have to charge for storage, of course. You just buy a terabyte hard disk and then you have enough storage for everything. This runs from very small devices. A lot of people run it on a Raspberry Pi, just in the basement. A lot of people install it on the router or NAS at home. Some install it on a Linux server somewhere, but it also scales to big installations. I think yesterday the TU, the university here in Berlin, announced that they have rolled out ownCloud for 30,000 users. Right? So ownCloud is now running on a cluster on their data center, and it's available for every student at the university here. So it's a software that runs from very, very small devices to big devices. This is like the general architecture. We have ownCloud here in the middle. Here you can plug in all kinds of storages. You can use your local storage, but we can also use some existing cloud storage. So if you have a Dropbox account, for example, you can't kill it because there's something shared with you already. You can mount it into your own cloud. You can mount your Google Drive into your own cloud. You can mount your FTP server, SFTP server, and so on. And you have all the data consolidated here, and it's accessible through the open APIs and the applications for desktops and tablets and phones. So a lot of people just take ownCloud, connect it to their existing infrastructure, and then they basically have their own Dropbox without any more costs. If you want to try it, there's demo.owncloud.org. Just a demo site that's like deleted every 10 minutes, so you can just upload some files and play around with it and try it. And it's very nice, I think. But it's also a free software project, so I also want to motivate all of you to contribute to ownCloud, because it's done by a community, and it's really fun to help and to be part of it. There are lots of different ways to contribute. First, you can integrate it with your existing application or service or whatever. We have open APIs for that, all kinds of different APIs. It's very easy to write an extension for it. It's written in PHP. It's very easy. We have a very powerful framework, so all the basic functionality is there. You can just use it. If you write an extension, we have something like a small app store, but it's not a store. Everything is for free. But it's a repository where everybody can publish extensions, and then people all over the world can use it. There are all kinds of extensions. There's an SVG editor written. There's even a game written for ownCloud. So all kinds of extensions. It doesn't matter what technology you use. We can use PHP developers, CSS, Android, all kinds of technologies. When basically everybody can help and make this better. If you're looking for more information, then there's owncloud.org as a website for the community. Everything is in the public GitHub repository. You just can go there and check it out. Bug tracker, mailing list, forum, basically all the normal communication channels. Okay, here's the last slide from me. This is the last slide. A lot of people ask us, hey, ownCloud sounds great, and we understand that all the terms of services from all the other cloud services are critical. You don't really know what is going on with my data, what kind of control do I give away. So people ask us, hey, what are the terms of services of ownCloud? I mean, what kind of compromises do I have to make to use ownCloud? And the answer is, of course, terms of services, whatever you want. Right? We don't have any terms of services, just software. You decide what is going on with your data, no one else. So you decide what are your personal terms of service of your personal machine. That's the idea behind it. Thank you. Okay, as I had hoped, we have some time for questions. 5 minutes. Are there any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the talk. I've just thought about about the integration in popular apps like 1Password or something else like Dropbox has.
Mm-hmm. So integration of third-party apps, basically. Well, there are open APIs out there. It's fully documented. There's a REST API to access some part of the functionality, the basic access of the files. If you want to implement like a third-party syncing client, it's WebDAV with some extensions to make it more efficient. That's basically it. If you want to integrate it from other systems. If you want to integrate it from the same machine, there are also PHP APIs to do that. So it's very open, I think.
Hello, my name is Steven. I think this is a fantastic project, and I'm very interested in it.
Thanks.
I'm curious, what are your thoughts about, I mean, the term is ownCloud, which implies that the data, I don't have to worry about the data by myself. Yeah. And so I think it would be really important for the project for it to succeed, to not be on the person's computer at home. Do you think that, I mean, isn't that the whole point of a cloud, why most people sign up for Dropbox and Google services, so that I, as a person, don't have to worry about convenience of backing up particularly? So I guess the question is, are you looking to make this a platform? Can it exist as an actual platform that I don't have to worry about, but I can yet still control?
Yeah, excellent question. ownCloud is free software, which means people can do whatever they want with it. And there are a lot of different options. I mean, first of all, installation on a machine is very, very easy. You just download a zip file, you just unpack it, you go to the URL, and then you have a wizard where you pick an administrator password, and then that's it. So it's very, very easy. And it also runs on Windows, which means you can use your Windows desktop at home as a server too. That's no problem. A lot of people do that. But I completely realize that not everybody wants to run an own server, of course. That's some work, obviously. There are a lot of providers that offer ownCloud services. So there are a few listed on the website. We don't do that. But there are a lot of options where you can just go to and sign up, and then you have an ownCloud account. It's still better than Dropbox because, first of all, it's decentralized. There are not 5 servers in the world, but 500,000. And there's still the option to export it and to import somewhere else. You can go to a different provider if you don't like the first one anymore. And like I said, a lot of organizations use it too. So there are ownCloud installations for soccer clubs or for just a few friends share a server and exchange their whatever MP3 collection with it. So it's all kinds of use cases. Yeah. But I completely agree, this has to be as easy as possible to be successful, of course.
Hello, thank you very much for the software and for all the development. I like it very much. I have a feature request. Maybe it's better to put it in the mailing list, but still. You integrated the PDF GS.
Yeah.
And I would love to embed these PDFs on my website.
Okay.
That's just an idea.
Yeah. I mean, we track feature requests on GitHub, so everybody can go there and file feature requests. I think that's a great idea. It's actually very easy to do, I think. Should be possible with just a little bit of JavaScript. Yeah. But we have to find someone to do it. It's a contributor community, so yeah. More questions?
Do you have any plans to embed the ownCloud on a network-attached system, like the transporter?
Yeah. There are ownCloud packages out there for a lot of NAS devices already. I mean, we weren't able to convince one of them to ship it by default yet. But a lot of people just buy a Synology or some other NAS thing and then go to the admin interface, and then there's a list of available plugins, and there's also a button for ownCloud. Press it, and then it's installed. A lot of people do that. But nothing by default yet.
Some more questions? Everything is clear? Okay. About ownCloud?
Okay, thanks a lot.